Hi lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy. This time I'm reviewing the Spirit of the Forest story arc miniseries from My Little Pony. This is a 3-issue story arc and it follows the Cutie Mark Crusaders as they attempt to save one of their favorite forests from a logging company. So it does have an environmentally, mentally conscious story arc to it, but I also like the fact that it looks at multiple sides of the issue. It's not just about saving the environment, but also about being sustainable and meeting our needs. So it does look at the fact that, hey, we actually do need lumber for building things. We can't just not have lumber. It's got some different dimensions to it, which I enjoyed. This is from 2019. The writing is by Ted Anderson, and the art is by Brenda Hickey, with Heather Breckel on colors and Neil Uyetak and letters. So the story starts off with the Cutie Mark Crusaders going on a camping trip. They are in a forest, like a park type forest. It's not the Everfree forest. It's not that sinister. And it's supposed to be a fun trip. They're going to be there for a few days, except they get there and find out that the campsite is completely trashed. There's tons of garbage all over the place, and it's just not very appealing. So the Cutie Mark Crusaders organize a bunch of their classmates. They go back to the campsite later and they do cleanup as a group, and it looks like everything's going to be awesome. They did a good deed. They can all enjoy the campsite again. Diamond Tiara starts telling a story about how her family, one of her grandparents had a cabin in the forest and how they used to spend all this time there. Also the story of the Spirit of the Forest, who is supposed to protect the forest. Like it's a supernatural type being who is a protector of the forest, who is supposed to stop bad things from happening. So Diamond Tiara is telling that story. But the real thing about this is that the campsite gets trashed again. They try to go camping a different weekend and it's completely trashed again. So they follow the source of the garbage and find out that Filthy Rich, Diamond Tiara's dad, has built a lumber mill in the middle of the forest and is cutting down all the trees, and his workers are the ones just littering everywhere. And so the Cutie Mark Crusaders attempt to talk to him, tell him that, you know, you're trashing the place, that's probably not great. And he does listen to them a little bit. He installs trash cans, tells his workers that they need to stay on the paths, not wander off. But also there's a lumber mill and he is inherently cutting down the forest, and that is not great, and that causes more problems. We also find out that Filthy Rich does actually care a little bit about the forest. He enjoyed his family camping trips. He wasn't just doing it because he had to. He enjoyed spending time in the woods with his family and his grandmother. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's his grandmother and Diamond Tiara's great-grandmother. Anyway, this older family member, he enjoyed that. And so he has fond memories of that. And so he does kind of want to help, but also he has businesses to run, and so he can't just shut everything down. So in issue 2, the Cutie Mark Crusaders come up with some plots and some hijinks to get the lumber mill shut down. And they are hilarious. And I don't want to spoil them for you, so I'm not going to show you what they do. You should totally go into that and enjoy that on your own. They do actually look at the fact that all these different artisans and people in Ponyville need the lumber mill. They need the wood. We aren't glossing over like the fact that this is actually kind of essential. I like the fact that it took in multiple sides of this, and it's not just a hey, save the trees, but also let's look at it and do it sustainably, which is where we get to in issue 3 with the wrap up. So shutting down the lumber mill doesn't solve anything. So they do go through, they go back to the main 6, they ask for help, and they figure out how to sustainably keep the lumber mill running so that they can keep having lumber for all these, all the artisans, all the people, ponies in Ponyville, but also so we can still enjoy the forest, which is awesome. I really love this, like, emphasis on, like, having everybody sit down and try to figure out a solution together, and ultimately they come up with something that works for every pony in a way. It's a little bit more work. Yes, you're still going to have a lumber mill in the forest. You're not going to have the whole thing anymore. But you still have your pockets, and you still get to enjoy it. And you still get the craftsmen still having their orders met without just, like, bulldozing everything. And I also like the fact that it does touch on myths and legends. So there is this creature that is supposedly protecting the forest, and it kind of delves into where that idea came from and what do we do with it, and how do we how we tell stories so we can process things, but also what do we do with those stories too. Even though the creature is not real, it doesn't mean that like nobody should protect the forest. It means that we have to do it ourselves instead, because there isn't anybody else to do it for us, which I love that. I love stories, guys. I geek out about like why we tell stories. Taking this as a whole, I really enjoyed this series, and it wasn't exactly what I expected. So I was surprised by it and where it went, and I loved it. So it is definitely 5 out of 5 stars for me, and I totally recommend finding A Spirit of the Forest and checking it out. Yeah. Let me know in the comments below if you have read this series and what you think of it. What are your other favorite My Little Pony comics? Are there any other environmentally conscious stories that I should be checking out? So, peace out. I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye.